My dagger is still inside him when the guards start pounding on the door. "My lord, are you hurt?" The man beneath me inhales sharply, half pain, half laughter. Then his hand grabs the front of my clothes and drags me down onto the bed with him. Our bodies crash together. The blade disappears between us. "Don't move," he whispers against my lips, breath warm, voice shaking. Blood spreads under his back, hot and slick through the sheets. "Answer us, my lord," the guards shout. His fingers slide behind my neck, forcing me closer. Close enough that anyone entering would think we were tangled in something very different from murder. Then he suddenly gasps, loud, breathless. "Gods!" He calls toward the door, voice rough. "Leave us!" Silence. He tightens his grip on me, nails digging through my clothes. "I said I wanted privacy tonight." The guards hesitate outside. My dagger presses deeper into his side. "You should expose me," I whisper. He smiles, eyes bright with pain and something reckless. "Why would I?" he murmurs. The footsteps outside finally retreat. The room falls quiet again. His hand slowly slides down my wrist, stopping over the one holding the blade inside him. "You broke into my room," he whispers. His thumb presses against my pulse. "You stabbed me." His gaze lifts to mine, dark and dangerous. "So now," he breathes softly, "you're not allowed to leave. Welcome to BL Without Labels, where the story isn't defined by words. Stay with the story. Support us." Chapter 1: The Worst Assignment of My Life. First-person POV. Li Wei. Assassinations are usually simple. You gather information. You enter quietly. You kill the target. You leave before anyone realizes the nobleman stopped breathing. That is how it is supposed to work. Tonight, however, everything begins going wrong the moment I arrive outside Shin Manor. Rain falls steadily over Lanqing City, turning the stone streets black and shining under the lantern light. The mansion walls rise high above me. White stone, curved roofs, and guards everywhere. Too many guards. I crouch on the roof of the opposite building, watching them patrol the courtyard. My employer's voice echoes in my memory. "Lord Shin. Cruel. Corrupt. Dangerous. Kill him quietly." Simple. At least it sounded simple when I accepted the job. Now I watch two guards stop near the bedroom wing and start complaining about the rain. One groans. "Why is the young master still awake at this hour?" The other shrugs. "Who knows? Probably drinking again." "Young master?" I ignore the comment. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the target. I pull my mask higher over my face and jump. The distance between the rooftops is small. My boots land without a sound. A moment later, I drop into the shadow of the garden wall. No alarm. Good. I move quickly through the dark courtyard, slipping between lantern light and shadows like I've done 100 times before. The servants' wing is quiet. The guards at the main entrance are bored. Within minutes, I reach the outer wall of the noble residence. 3 floors. The bedroom should be on the second. I throw the rope. The hook catches the balcony rail perfectly. Good. At least something tonight works. I climb. Rain makes the stone slick, but I've climbed worse surfaces with arrows flying past my head. Compared to that, this is peaceful. When I reach the balcony, the door is slightly open. I pause. That is suspicious. Rich nobles are usually paranoid enough to lock everything. But the room is dark and silent. Maybe the target is already asleep. Lucky. I slip inside. The air smells faintly of incense and expensive wine. A single lantern burns low on the far table, casting golden shadows across the room. The bed is large enough to house a small army, and there is someone sleeping in it. Perfect. I close the balcony door behind me and move closer. The man lies on his side, long dark hair spread across the pillow. Too dark to see his face clearly, but the build matches the description well enough. I draw my dagger. Steel glints faintly in the lantern light. This is the easiest part of my profession. One clean strike. No noise. No struggle. No witnesses. I step beside the bed. For a moment I watch the slow rise and fall of his breathing. Then I strike. The blade sinks deep into his side. Warm blood spills instantly over my hand. The man's eyes snap open, not with fear, with shock, then pain. And then, he laughs, actually laughs, which is very strange behavior for someone who has just been stabbed. Before I can react, his hand shoots up and grabs the front of my clothes. And suddenly, I am falling. He drags me down onto the bed with him. Our bodies crash together. The dagger shifts deeper between us. He gasps sharply. And at that exact moment, the guards start pounding on the door. My lord, are you hurt? I freeze, because my dagger is still inside him. And his face is now close enough to see clearly in the lantern light. Young, too handsome. Not the cruel middle-aged noble I was hired to kill. The man under me studies my face, then slowly smiles despite the blade in his side. You killed the wrong brother. I close my eyes. Of course I did. Of course tonight would go like this. And before I can decide whether to flee, stab him again, or jump out the window, he pulls me even closer and whispers against my lips. Don't move. Outside the door, the guards shout again. My lord, answer us. And somehow, my terrible night is only just beginning. Chapter 2. The night I was not allowed to leave. I said I wanted privacy tonight. Shinrue's voice is rough, breathless, loud enough for the guards outside the door. For a moment, the pounding stops. My lord, are you certain you are unharmed? A guard asks nervously. Shinrue tightens his grip behind my neck and drags me even closer. Our foreheads nearly touch. His breath is warm against my lips. I can feel the blood spreading beneath him. Yes, he says hoarsely. Very certain. There is a long, deeply uncomfortable silence outside the door. Then one of the guards coughs. Understood, my lord. Footsteps slowly retreat down the hallway. The moment they are gone, the room falls quiet again. Rain taps softly against the windows. Shinrue exhales slowly beneath me. Then he taps my wrist. You can breathe now. I was breathing. Barely. I glance toward the door, then down at the dagger still buried in his side. You should have exposed me. He studies my face with curious amusement. Why would I do that? Because I stabbed you. Yes, he says thoughtfully. You did. He shifts slightly. The blade moves. He hisses through his teeth. That was unpleasant. You pulled me onto the bed. You stabbed me first. Fair. I glance toward the balcony. The quickest way out. You're going to bleed out. I say quietly. Probably. That doesn't worry you? He shrugs weakly. Dying is inconvenient. But what really worries me is the assassin escaping. I blink. You're helping the assassin escape. His eyes brighten. Yes. Why? He tilts his head, studying me more carefully. Because, he says slowly, you're clearly very bad at your job. I frown. I successfully stabbed the target. You stabbed the wrong brother. I pause, then sigh. Yes. He chuckles softly, then immediately regrets it and presses a hand against the wound. You know, he mutters. This conversation would be much more comfortable if there wasn't a dagger inside me. That might kill you. That might also kill you if the guards return. I consider that. He considers me. Then he nods toward the balcony. Leave. I don't move. You're letting me go? Temporarily. Temporarily? Yes. That is not reassuring. He taps the dagger again. Remove it before you go. That will make the bleeding worse. I'm aware. Then why? Because if the guards come back and find a dagger in my side, he says patiently, they will ask questions. Reasonable. And I would prefer not to explain that I invited the assassin into my bedroom. I hesitate. He notices. You're worried about killing me, he says. I'm worried about complications. Same thing. He gestures impatiently. Pull it out. I grip the dagger handle. This is a terrible idea. Yes. You might die. Yes. You're very calm about that. I'm bleeding on expensive sheets, he replies. My standards have already lowered. Fair. I pull the dagger free. Shinrue gasps sharply and grabs the blanket as blood spills faster across the mattress. For a moment I think he might actually faint, but instead he laughs weakly. That was worse than the stabbing. I wipe the blade on the sheets. Comforting. He waves toward the balcony. Go before I change my mind. I step off the bed. For the first time since entering the room, we are no longer tangled together. He looks smaller lying there, paler, still smiling, which is extremely suspicious behavior for someone who has just lost that much blood. You should expose me, I repeat. He shakes his head. No. Why? He watches me for a moment, then says quietly, because you came alone. I frown. All assassins come alone. Not usually. He gestures weakly. You had one chance, one clean strike. Then you hesitated. I don't respond. His gaze sharpens. That means something. It means I misidentified the target. It means, he says softly, you're not as cold as you pretend to be. I ignore that. I'm leaving. Yes. But if you die, that's not my responsibility. He smirks faintly. If I die, the guards will hunt you across the entire empire. That's also inconvenient. Exactly. I move toward the balcony. Behind me he suddenly says, you'll come back. I stop. Slowly I glance over my shoulder. He's still lying there, bleeding through the sheets, looking absurdly confident for a man in his condition. No, I say. He smiles. You stabbed the wrong man. Yes. You feel guilty. No. You're curious. No. You're terrible at lying. I stare at him. He waves lazily toward the balcony again. Go. I climb over the rail. Rain hits my face immediately. Below, the garden is dark and quiet. Just before I jump down, his voice drifts out from the room. Assassin. I pause. What? Next time, he says weakly, try using the door. Then he adds, almost cheerfully, I might need a bodyguard. I stare at him for a long moment. Then I drop into the rain and run. Unfortunately, he is absolutely correct about one thing. The next night, I come back. Chapter 3, The Man Waiting on the Balcony. I tell myself I'm only returning to confirm whether he survived. That's all. Nothing more. Certainly not guilt. Definitely not curiosity. And absolutely not because the bleeding noble with terrible judgment told me to come back. Yet here I am, standing across the street from Shin Manor again the next night. The rain has stopped. Lanterns burn along the outer walls, and the number of guards has doubled since yesterday. Word of the assassination attempt clearly spread, which means returning here is an extremely bad idea. I watch the patrol patterns anyway. Old habits. 2 guards at the front gate, 4 in the courtyard, 2 more along the wall, more near the bedroom wing. Tighter security. Annoying, but still not impossible. I sigh quietly. This is a mistake. I mutter to myself. Then I jump to the roof. 10 minutes later, I reach the same balcony. The rope hook catches the rail again. Perfect. I climb. My boots touch the stone. And that's when I realize something is wrong. Someone is standing there, waiting. I freeze. Leaning casually against the balcony rail is Shinrue. Alive. Very alive. Moonlight falls across his face as he folds his arms and watches me climb over the railing. One side of his robe is loosely wrapped, bandages visible beneath the fabric. He looks pale, but his smile is irritatingly bright. You're late, he says. I stare at him. You're alive. Yes. You lost a dangerous amount of blood. Yes. You should be in bed. I was bored. I blink slowly. You nearly died. And yet, he says cheerfully, here I am. He pushes himself away from the railing and steps closer. I notice he moves carefully. The wound clearly still hurts. You came back, he says. I was checking something. My survival? Yes. Well, he gestures at himself. Successful. He studies my face. Then his smile becomes a little sharper. You feel guilty. No. You hesitated before pulling out the dagger. That was tactical thinking. You also told me not to die. That was practical advice. You're very bad at denying things. I sighed. This conversation is unnecessary. I turned toward the balcony rail. Since you're alive, I'm leaving. His hand suddenly grabs my sleeve. Fast. Much faster than someone with a stab wound should move. You're not leaving. I glance down at his hand. You're surprisingly strong. Pain makes people motivated. I try pulling away. His grip tightens. Let go. No. I'm an assassin. Yes. You should not be grabbing assassins. You should not be stabbing innocent nobles. Fair. He tilts his head slightly, then says calmly, someone hired you to kill my brother. Yes. And that means someone powerful wants my family dead. I don't respond. His eyes narrow slightly, which means they will send another assassin. Possibly. Definitely. I shrug. That sounds like a problem for your guards. He laughs softly, then immediately winces and presses a hand against his bandages. Those guards, he mutters, couldn't stop a drunk poet from sneaking into this manor. That's insulting to poets. That's accurate. He looks back at me, then says the words that ruin my evening. I need a bodyguard. I stare at him. You have dozens. None of them can climb my balcony in the middle of the night. That is not a common security requirement. It is now. I shake my head. No. Yes. No. Yes. I'm an assassin. Exactly. That means I kill people. That means you know how assassins think. I cross my arms. You're insane. Probably. He smiles again, then lowers his voice slightly. But you stabbed the wrong man. I remain silent. And now, he continues calmly, you feel responsible. I do not. You came back. That proves nothing. It proves everything. Before I can respond, he suddenly calls toward the hallway inside the room. Guards! My heart nearly stops. Footsteps immediately approach from inside. I grab his wrist. What are you doing? He smiles sweetly. Hiring a bodyguard. The door slides open. 2 guards appear. They freeze when they see me, standing on the balcony, next to their injured lord, with a dagger. Wonderful. My lord. Shinrue raises a hand calmly. Relax. The guards stare at him in confusion, then at me, then back at him. This man, Shinrue says casually, is my new bodyguard. The guards blink. Your bodyguard? Yes. One guard looks extremely skeptical. My lord, we already have. Yes, Shinrue interrupts. And yet I was still stabbed last night. The guard shuts up. Fair point. Shinrue gestures toward me. He will be staying close to me from now on. The guards look at each other. Then one of them carefully asks, does he have a name? Shinrue glances at me. I sigh. Li Wei. Excellent. Shinrue says brightly. Then he turns back to the guards. You may leave us. They hesitate. My lord, are you certain? He smiles again. That same reckless smile from last night. Very. The guards slowly withdraw and close the door. Silence returns. I look at him. You blackmailed me. I employed you. That is not employment. It's a secret position. You're ridiculous. He leans against the balcony rail again, looking extremely pleased with himself. Welcome to the job. I rub my temples. This is the worst assignment of my life. He grins. Oh good. Then he pats my shoulder. Your first task as my bodyguard? What? Help me walk back to bed before I faint. I stare at him. You absolutely planned this. He smiles weakly. Yes. And then, he actually collapses against me. I catch him automatically. Blood immediately starts soaking through the bandages again. I sigh deeply. My first night as a bodyguard, and the man I'm protecting is still bleeding because of me. This is going to be a very long job. Chapter 4. My employer is extremely annoying. Shinrue collapses against me. I catch him automatically, which is unfortunate, because the moment I do, His full weight drops onto my shoulder, and he exhales weakly like a man who has been waiting all night to faint dramatically. Perfect timing, he murmurs. You did that on purpose, I say. Yes. His head tilts against my neck. You were standing there. It seemed efficient. I stare at the ceiling. I used to kill people for money. Now I am holding one upright while he bleeds on my clothes. Life takes strange turns. Move, I tell him. Where? To your bed before you die. Reasonable. Unfortunately, he does not move. Instead, he leans even heavier against me. Are you actually unconscious? Ask. No. Then walk. My legs disagree. I sigh. Then I drag him toward the bed. He complains the entire way. Careful. You're stepping on my robe. You're very rough for a bodyguard. You stabbed me yesterday, he adds thoughtfully. That might explain the hostility. I'm not hostile. You sound hostile. I'm tired. Bodyguards shouldn't sound tired. I'm an assassin. Former assassin. I hate you. He smiles faintly. I finally drop him onto the mattress. He lands with a quiet groan. That was rude. You're alive. Barely. He presses a hand against the bandages around his side. Blood is slowly soaking through the cloth again. That is not encouraging. You should have stayed in bed, I say. And missed watching you climb the balcony again? Yes. That would have been boring. I walk over to the small table beside the bed. There's a basin of water and clean cloths. Apparently someone expected him to behave like an injured person. I wet the cloth and hand it to him. He stares at it. What is this? A cloth? Yes. But why are you giving it to me? To stop bleeding. He considers that, then hands it back. You do it. I stare at him. Why? You stabbed me, he says calmly. You should be responsible for the repair work. That is not how stabbing works. It is tonight. I sigh again. This seems to be happening a lot. Fine. I sit on the edge of the bed and carefully pull the edge of the bandage away. The wound is ugly, deep, still bleeding. You really aimed well, Shinrue comments. Thank you. That was sarcasm. I noticed. He watches me rewrap the bandage. After a moment, he says quietly, You didn't finish the job. No. You could have. Yes. But you didn't. No. He studies my face. Why? I tie the cloth tighter. That question is irrelevant. Everything is relevant. You were not my target. That didn't stop the dagger. That was a mistake. He smiles faintly. I know. I finish securing the bandage and sit back. Try not to move. That sounds boring. You nearly fainted. I did faint. You planned it. Yes. You're exhausting. Thank you. For a moment the room goes quiet. Moonlight slips through the window. The manor is calm again. Then Shinrue suddenly says, So. I look at him. So? You're my bodyguard now. I was forced. You agreed. I was threatened. Details. I rub my forehead. You realize this arrangement makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. How? You know how assassins enter buildings. Yes. You know how they think. Yes. And you already proved you can reach my bedroom. That was not meant to be a demonstration. He grins. It was very convincing. I stand up and walk toward the window. You're assuming the next assassin will come the same way. Assassins are predictable. No, they aren't. You climbed the balcony twice. That's different. How? I'm exceptional. He laughs, then regrets it immediately and clutches his side again. Stop making me laugh, he mutters. That sounds like a personal problem. After a moment, he settles back against the pillows. His eyes close briefly. For the first time tonight, he actually looks tired. Then he opens one eye again. Li Wei. What? If another assassin comes? Yes. Try not to stab the wrong person again. I stare at him. That only happened once. That's already too many times. I cross my arms. Go to sleep. He smiles sleepily. My bodyguard is very strict. You hired me. I blackmailed you. Correct. He shifts slightly under the blanket, then murmurs, "You know, the guards are going to be very confused tomorrow." "Why?" "Because I told them you're staying close to me. That is the job." "Yes." He pauses, then adds lazily, "Very close." I narrow my eyes. "What does that mean?" He grins without opening his eyes. "It means..." He gestures weakly toward the empty space beside him on the bed. "You're sleeping here." I stare at him. "No." "Yes. I will guard the door. Assassins don't come through doors." "I hate your logic." "Everyone does." I walk toward the chair by the window and sit down. "I'm staying here." Shinrue sighs dramatically. "My bodyguard doesn't trust me. You blackmailed me." Details. Within minutes, his breathing slowly evens out. He finally falls asleep. I watch the quiet room. The moon. The sleeping noble I accidentally stabbed. And somewhere deep in my chest, the guilt is still there, which is extremely inconvenient, because now I have to keep him alive. Chapter 5: The Arrow Test. Morning in Shin Manor is loud. Servants walking through the halls. Guards changing shifts. Someone in the courtyard arguing loudly about breakfast dumplings. And Shinrue is sitting by the window like a man who was not stabbed yesterday. I stand near the door with my arms folded, watching him, suspiciously. "You should be in bed," I say. "I was in bed. For 3 hours. Very restful hours. You lost a dangerous amount of blood." "Yes." "And now you're standing." "Yes." "You are extremely irresponsible." He smiles and pours tea into a cup. "You sound like an old physician." "I sound like someone trying to keep you alive." He raises the cup. "That is your job." I consider throwing him out the window. Before I can respond, something whistles through the air. A sharp sound. Too fast. Too quiet. My body moves before my mind does. I grab Shinrue's shoulder and shove him sideways. At the same moment, my hand snaps up and catches the arrow mid-flight. The force of it stings my palm. The arrowhead stops an inch from his throat. The room goes completely silent. My heart is pounding. My grip tightens around the shaft. Slowly, very slowly, Shinrue turns his head and looks at the arrow in my hand. Then he looks at me. His eyes widen slightly. "That was impressive." I stare at him. Then I look toward the window. Across the courtyard, a shadow disappears from a distant roof. Assassin. Just like he predicted. My jaw tightens. I snap the arrow in half. Then I turn back to him. "You know that arrow was meant for you." "Yes." "And yet you didn't move." "No." My anger rises instantly. "You just stood there." "Yes." "You didn't dodge." "No." "You didn't even react." He shrugs calmly. "I wanted to see something." My hands clench. "See what?" "If my new bodyguard is actually as skilled as he claims." For a moment, I am too stunned to speak. "You." I step closer. "You used yourself as bait. Technically, that arrow could have killed you." "Yes." "And you just stood there?" He studies my expression. Calm. Almost curious. "I trusted you." That makes me even angrier. "That is not trust." I snap. "That is stupidity." He tilts his head slightly. "But you caught it." "That's not the point. It proves you're very fast." "I am not your testing device." "I didn't test you," he says thoughtfully. "I tested myself." I blink. "What?" He flexes his fingers as if considering something. "I wanted to see if my instincts would move." "They didn't." "No." "Why?" He smiles slightly. "Because I knew you would move first." For a moment, I just stare at him. My chest is tight with anger. "You realize," I say slowly, "that if I had been half a second slower, you would be dead." "Yes." "And you're calm about that?" "Yes." I slam the broken arrow onto the table. "You are impossible." He watches me pace across the room. "You're angry." "Of course I'm angry. You saved me. That's my job." "You care." "I care about not failing the job." He studies my face carefully. Then his smile softens slightly. "Still impressive though." I glare at him. You are not complimenting your way out of this. I'm serious. He gestures toward my hand. You caught an arrow. That's normal. That is absolutely not normal. It is for assassins. He leans back in his chair. Well then, he says calmly, I definitely hired the right one. I rub my face with both hands. This man is going to kill me, not with a weapon, but with frustration. After a moment, I walk back to the window and scan the rooftops. The attacker is gone. Professional. Which means this was only the beginning. Behind me, Shinrue says quietly, So, I don't turn. So what? The next assassin will probably try something different. Obviously. Poison, maybe? Possibly. Or a blade. Also possible. He pauses, then says lightly, Well. I glance back at him. He smiles. I'm glad you're fast. I sigh deeply. And for the first time since accepting this terrible job, I realize something important. This man is reckless, annoying, and far too calm about dying. Which means, protecting him is going to be much harder than I thought. Chapter 6, The Man Who Would Not Let Me Work. After the arrow incident, I start doing my job properly. Which means two things. First, I stay close to Shinrue. Second, I quietly investigate who tried to kill him. The second part is much easier if the person you're protecting stops talking for 5 minutes. Unfortunately, Shinrue does not stop talking. Not even once. I follow him through the manor courtyard while pretending to observe the guards. In reality, I'm studying everything. Positions, weapons, movement patterns, which servants look nervous, which guards avoid eye contact. Assassins usually come through people. Money opens more doors than knives. Behind me, Shinrue sighs loudly. You've been quiet all morning. Yes, that's suspicious. I'm working. You're glaring at my guards. I'm evaluating them. You look like you want to stab them. That's my professional background. He folds his arms. You're ignoring me. Yes, that's rude. It's efficient. We reach the garden path. Servants pass by carrying baskets of fruit. I watch their hands, their sleeves. Hidden weapons are often. Li Wei. I ignore him. Li Wei. Still ignoring. Li Wei. I sigh. What? You're walking like a ghost. That's how professionals move. It's unsettling. That's the goal. He stops walking. I take 3 more steps before realizing. Then I turn back. What? He stares at me with narrowed eyes. You've been acting strange since the arrow. No. Yes. No. You barely looked at me all morning. That's because I'm watching the environment. He squints. Or someone. I blink. What? His voice lowers. Are you secretly meeting someone? Now I'm confused. What? Someone outside the manor. He continues. An informant maybe. Or a lover. I stare at him. What kind of investigation is that? You're hiding something. Yes. What? The identity of the person who shot that arrow. He pauses. Oh. Then he clears his throat. Well, that's less dramatic. I rub my temples. You thought I was sneaking around with a lover. I was curious. You were jealous. I was not. You were. I was suspicious. Jealous. Suspicious. Jealous. He scowls. I am your employer. And you shouldn't hide things from me. I hide things from everyone. That's suspicious. That's survival. He watches me for a moment, then suddenly asks, Did you find anything? I glance around the courtyard again, lower my voice. Yes. His eyes sharpen immediately. What? The arrow. What about it? The fletching is military. He blinks. Military? Yes. From whose army? That's the problem. I pull the broken arrowhead from my sleeve and show him. The carving here. He leans closer. His shoulder brushes mine. Distracting. That symbol belongs to one of your family's private guard units. I say quietly. He goes very still. That's impossible. Is it? My brother controls those soldiers. Yes. Which means? He trails off. Someone inside his own household might have ordered the attack. The thought clearly unsettles him. For the first time since I met him, Shinrue looks genuinely serious. Someone inside the manor, he murmurs. Possibly. He exhales slowly. Well, I look at him. Well, that's awkward. You're very calm about betrayal. I'm used to politics. Fair. He turns and begins walking again. Then he suddenly glances back at me. You know what's strange? What? You're angry. I'm not. Yes, you are. No. You've been tense since the arrow across my arms. That's because you used yourself as bait. It worked. You could have died. But I didn't. That's not the point. He studies me carefully, then smiles slowly. You really were worried. I glare at him. I was doing my job. Of course. Stop smiling. I'm not smiling. You are absolutely smiling. He laughs quietly, then says in a softer voice, I didn't expect you to care that much. I don't. You caught an arrow with your bare hand. That's normal. That's terrifying. It's efficient. He walks a few steps ahead of me, then suddenly says over his shoulder, You know. I wait. If you keep glaring at everyone like that, yes, the entire manor will think you're my jealous lover. I stop walking. What? He grins. You follow me everywhere. That's the job. You watch everyone who comes near me. That's the job. You get angry when I put myself in danger. That's. I stop. He turns around slowly. I sparkling. The job? He asks. I stare at him. For a long moment neither of us speaks. Then I sigh deeply. This assignment is going to ruin my life. He beams. Oh good. Then he pats my shoulder. Let's go find the traitor in my house. I look toward the manor buildings. Somewhere inside, someone tried to kill him, and they might try again, which means my job just became far more dangerous. Behind me Shinrue hums cheerfully like we're going for a walk in the park. Yes, this is definitely going to ruin my life. Chapter 7. A poison that doesn't kill. After discovering the arrow came from inside the manor, I begin watching everyone. Servants, guards, even the cooks. Poison is a common method when assassins cannot strike directly, which is why I am standing quietly beside Shinrue during lunch, pretending to be nothing more than a silent bodyguard. He, unfortunately, is pretending to be a normal noble, which means he is talking. A lot. You know, Shinrue says while lazily stirring his tea. This is the first peaceful moment I've had all day. I scan the room. Servants move carefully around the table. Guards stand near the door. Everything appears normal. That's exactly what makes me suspicious. Peaceful, I repeat. Yes, you were shot with an arrow yesterday. A minor inconvenience. You nearly fainted from blood loss. Temporary weakness. You are impossible. He smiles. I've been told that before. A servant places a small porcelain cup in front of him. Hot tea. Steam rises gently from the surface. My eyes follow the servant as he steps away. The man avoids looking at us. Interesting. I lean slightly closer to Shinrue. Don't drink that. He pauses. Why? I don't like the servant who poured it. That's not a scientific explanation. Trust me. He studies my face for a moment. Then, of course, he picks up the cup. I trust you, he says, and drinks it anyway. I grab his wrist. You idiot. Relax, he says calmly. If it was poison, you would have stopped me. I tried. He shrugs. Too late. I stare at the empty cup. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I immediately look around the room. The servant who served the tea is gone. Even better. You need to spit that out, I say. It's already swallowed. That's not helpful. He opens his mouth to reply, then suddenly pauses. His expression changes. Slowly, very slowly, his face turns red. Not pale, red. His breathing becomes uneven. Li Wei, that's not a deadly poison, I say immediately. How do you know? Because you're not dying. I feel like I might. You're sweating. Yes. That's also not fatal. He grips the edge of the table, then looks at me with wide, slightly unfocused eyes. This feels strange. Describe strange. Hot. I blink. Hot. Very hot. A bead of sweat slides down his temple. He loosens the collar of his robe. Why is it suddenly warm in here? It's not. He exhales slowly, then mutters, "Oh, what?" He rubs his forehead. This isn't poison meant to kill me. I cross my arms. I figured that out already. It's worse. How? He looks up at me. Embarrassment flashes across his face for the first time since I met him. This is a reputation poison. A what? The kind nobles use to ruin someone's name. I stare at him. Then realization slowly forms. You mean? Yes. I look at his flushed face, the heavy breathing, the way he keeps adjusting his clothes. Someone poisoned you with an aphrodisiac. He closes his eyes. Yes. I stare at the empty cup again, then at him, then back at the cup. That's a very stupid assassination attempt. It's not meant to kill me. Clearly, it's meant to embarrass me. How? He gestures vaguely at himself. If someone saw me like this. He trails off. I look at him again. His ears are red, his breathing uneven, his composure clearly cracking. Oh, yes. I pinch the bridge of my nose. This manor is full of murder attempts and political traps. And somehow the current situation is the most ridiculous one yet. Can you walk? Ask. Yes. Good. He tries to stand. His knees immediately wobble. I catch him before he falls. Maybe not. His grip tightens on my sleeve. Lee Wei. Yes. You cannot let anyone see me like this. That's difficult when you're clinging to me. I am not clinging. You absolutely are. He breathes out slowly, trying to steady himself. Take me to my room. That's what I was planning. I throw one arm around his shoulders and guide him toward the hallway. We walk quickly, very quickly. Servants bow as we pass. Thankfully, no one notices his condition yet, but his grip tightens every few steps. By the time we reach the corridor outside his room, his voice is strained. This poison is stronger than I expected. That's unfortunate. You sound calm. I'm thinking. About what? About who did this? He leans heavily against me as we reach the door. I push it open and drag him inside. The moment the door shuts, he exhales sharply, then collapses onto the bed. His breathing is even heavier now, his face flushed deep red. He looks at me with unfocused eyes. Lee Wei. Yes. This is very embarrassing. I noticed. He grabs the blanket and presses it over his face. Do not let anyone enter this room. That was already the plan. There is a long silence. Then his muffled voice comes from under the blanket. If anyone finds out about this, my reputation is finished. I lean against the door and cross my arms. Relax. How? I'll handle it. He slowly lowers the blanket and looks at me, still flushed, still breathing unevenly. You're surprisingly calm about this. I shrug. I've dealt with worse poisons. He blinks. Worse than this? Yes. What kind? The kind that kills people. He stares at me, then groans and throws the blanket back over his head. I hate politics. From the bed, his voice muffles again. Lee Wei. Yes. Next time someone tries to poison me, I wait. Please let it be the killing kind. I sigh. Unfortunately, I have a feeling tonight is going to be much more complicated than that. Chapter 8, The Line I Shouldn't Have Crossed. Shenrue stays very still on the bed. Too still. The blanket is half over his face, his breathing uneven beneath it. His ears are red, his neck flushed, and every few seconds his fingers tighten in the sheets like he's trying very hard not to move. I stand by the door with my arms crossed, pretending to focus on the hallway outside. In reality, I'm listening to every sound he makes. Lee Wei. His voice is strained. Yes. Leave the room. I glance back at him. He hasn't moved. The blanket still covers most of his face. Why? A long pause. Then he says quietly, because this poison is not the kind you calmly wait out. I noticed. So leave. That's not possible. Why? You were just poisoned. I am aware. My job is to guard you. My dignity is more important. That's debatable. He slowly lowers the blanket. His face is even redder now. Sweat glints on his temples. Li Wei, he says carefully. I cannot control my body right now. I understand. Then why are you still standing there? Because someone inside this house poisoned you. And they might try something else. He closes his eyes briefly. You are extremely stubborn. So I've been told. He exhales slowly, trying to steady his breathing. Fine. Another pause. Then he adds quietly, just don't come closer. I lean against the wall. I wasn't planning to. For a few minutes, neither of us speaks. The room is silent except for his breathing. It's getting heavier, more uneven. The poison is clearly stronger than either of us expected. Then suddenly, he grips the blanket tightly. This is ridiculous. You're doing well. I am absolutely not doing well. You haven't lost control yet. That's because I'm concentrating. On what? Not doing anything stupid. Fair. Another minute passes. Then he says again, more urgently this time. Li Wei. Yes. You should really leave. You already said that. I mean it this time. And I still can't. He slowly sits up, which is clearly a mistake. The moment he does, his breathing becomes sharper. He grips the edge of the bed. This poison is worse than I thought. I gathered that. Stop sounding calm. I am calm. You should not be calm. I push away from the wall. Why? Because he stops suddenly when I step closer. I told you not to come closer. I know. Then why are you doing it? I stop beside the bed. Because now I can see something clearly. His hands are shaking. Not reaching. Not grabbing. Just gripping the sheets like he's trying to hold himself still. He's fighting it. Actually fighting it. And losing. You're not touching anything, I say quietly. He glares at me weakly. That's because I have self-control. I see that. So stop watching me like that. Like what? Like I'm some kind of problem you're solving. I'm trying to help. You're making it worse. How? You're standing too close. I realize he's right. But instead of stepping back, I do the worst possible thing. I sit on the edge of the bed. He stares at me like I've completely lost my mind. Li Wei. Yes. Get off the bed. No. You are crossing a very dangerous line. I know. You're supposed to be the responsible one here. I'm aware. He grips the blanket tighter. His voice drops lower. Then why are you doing this? I look at him for a long moment. Because you're still trying not to touch me. His expression freezes. I continue quietly. You're poisoned. Yes. You can barely breathe. Yes. And you still told me to leave, so you wouldn't embarrass yourself. He doesn't respond. I exhale slowly. Which is exactly why this situation is embarrassing. Li Wei. I'm the one crossing the line. He stares at me, silent. Then after a long moment he mutters, you really are a terrible bodyguard. That's possible. But also, his voice softens slightly. Very unfair. I tilt my head. How? He looks away. Because now I'm not sure if the poison is the problem anymore. The room falls silent again. And for the first time since the tea, I realize this situation is far more dangerous than any arrow. Not because of the poison, but because of me. Chapter 9, The Line Between Us. The room is quiet. Too quiet. The lantern beside the bed flickers softly, throwing warm light across Shinrue's face. He's still flushed from the poison, breathing unevenly, one hand gripping the sheets like he's trying to hold himself together. I should leave. Every instinct tells me that. Bodyguards don't sit on their employer's bed while he's poisoned with something like this. Bodyguards definitely don't watch him the way I am right now. Li Wei, he says quietly. Yes. Last chance. For what? For you to walk out that door. I don't move. He lets out a slow breath. You're terrible at following instructions. You already noticed that. His eyes study my face, searching for something. Then he mutters softly, "This is going to ruin my reputation." That's already happening. Wonderful. Another moment passes. His fingers tighten in the blanket again. He's trying not to move, trying not to reach, trying not to look at me the way he just did. And somehow that restraint makes everything worse. You're still holding back, I say quietly. Yes. Even like this. Yes. His voice drops lower. Because if I don't, he doesn't finish the sentence. But I understand it. The air between us feels heavy, dangerous. Then he says softly, "Li Wei, don't come closer." Of course I do. One step, then another. Now I'm standing beside the bed, close enough that he has to tilt his head back to look at me. His eyes are darker than usual. Frustration, embarrassment, and something else burning underneath. "You're making this harder," he murmurs. "That wasn't my intention." "That's a lie." "Probably." For a moment neither of us moves. Then suddenly his hand grabs my sleeve. Not gently, not carefully, just enough to pull me closer. Our balance shifts, and the next second I'm leaning over him, one hand braced on the mattress. His breath catches. "You crossed the line," he whispers. "Yes. You're supposed to be the responsible one." Clearly I failed. His eyes search mine. There's still hesitation there, still restraint. Even now he's holding himself back, which is exactly why I close the distance. The first kiss is rough, unexpected. His breath stops completely for a moment. Then his hand slides behind my neck, pulling me closer like he's been holding back for far too long. The second kiss is deeper, warmer, and suddenly the tension he's been fighting all night breaks. He pulls me down onto the bed with him, one hand gripping my shirt, the other clutching my shoulder like he's making sure I can't disappear. "Li Wei," he breathes against my mouth. "Yes, you're the one who crossed the line." "I know. That's why this is embarrassing." "That's fair." But he doesn't push me away. If anything, his grip tightens. The heat from his skin is still there, the poison still working through his system. His fingers slide across my shoulders, my back, as if confirming I'm real. "Still here," he murmurs. "I didn't leave. You should have. You keep saying that." He exhales a quiet laugh against my neck, then mutters, "Too late now." The lantern burns lower. The room grows quieter. And eventually the tension that's been building since the poison tea finally fades into the warm silence of the night. Later, I lie on my back staring at the ceiling. Shinrue is half asleep beside me, one arm draped lazily across my chest like he claimed the space there. I let out a long sigh. This is definitely not part of the job. His eyes open slightly. "You're the one who crossed the line. You're the one who drank the poison. You told me not to." "Yes. And then you stayed." "Yes." He studies me sleepily. Then his fingers tighten slightly in my shirt. "Good." The room falls quiet again. And for the first time since arriving in this manor, I realize the most dangerous part of this job might not be the assassins. It might be him. Chapter 10: Rumors in the Manor. Morning arrives far too quickly. Sunlight slips through the window and lands directly on my face. I open one eye, immediately regret it, because Shinrue is still lying beside me, very close, one arm lazily draped across my chest like it belongs there. I stare at the ceiling for a moment. "This is a mistake." Shinrue's voice comes out half asleep. "You said that last night. You were poisoned last night. And you crossed the line." "Yes. That sounds like your responsibility." I turn my head slightly. "You're enjoying this." "Very much." Of course he is. I push his arm off my chest and sit up. "Get dressed." He groans dramatically. "My bodyguard has become very strict. My employer is very reckless." "That's also true." He slowly sits up as well, wincing slightly when he moves. The wound from the stabbing is clearly still painful. That makes my chest tighten slightly. Annoying. I walk toward the window and check the courtyard below. More guards than yesterday. Word of the arrow attack has clearly spread. Behind me, Shinrue says casually, "You stayed the whole night. That was unavoidable. That's not what the servants will think." I turn slowly. "What?" He smiles. The kind of smile that means trouble. "Servants notice things." "Like what?" "Like my bodyguard leaving my room in the morning." I stare at him. "You planned this." "I absolutely did not." "You absolutely did." He shrugs. "It might help." "With what?" "Confusing our enemies." I cross my arms. "Explain." "If someone inside the manor poisoned me," he says calmly, "they will want to know whether it worked." "Yes. And if they hear that my bodyguard stayed in my room all night." He pauses. Realization slowly forms in my mind. "They'll think the poison worked too well." "Exactly." I sigh. "You're using rumors as bait." He grins. "You're learning." Just then, a knock sounds at the door. "My lord." A servant's voice. Shinrue immediately lies back on the bed. "What are you doing?" "Acting." "I hate this plan already." The door opens slightly. A young servant enters carrying a tray of tea. He stops the moment he sees the room. His eyes move between us. Shinrue lying in bed. Me standing near the window. The silence becomes extremely awkward. Shinrue sighs dramatically. "Morning already?" The servant bows quickly. "Yes, my lord." Shinrue glances at me lazily, then says in a voice that is definitely intentional, "Li Wei didn't let me sleep much." The servant nearly drops the tea tray. I stare at Shinrue. He smiles innocently. "That is not what happened." The servant quickly sets the tray down without looking directly at either of us. "My lord, I will leave the tea here." He rushes out of the room. The door closes. I turn slowly. "You did that on purpose." Shinrue stretches comfortably against the pillows. "Of course. You're spreading rumors." "I'm creating distractions." "You're enjoying it." "That too." I rub my forehead. "Within an hour, the entire manor will be talking. Bodyguards staying in the lord's bedroom. Servants whispering. Guards speculating. Chaos. Which means anyone responsible for the poisoning will start watching us more closely. And when they do, I'll be watching them." Shinrue pours tea from the tray and hands me a cup. "You look like you're plotting something." "I am." "Good." He takes a sip of his own tea, then pauses. "Li Wei." "Yes." "You checked this tea first, right?" I take the cup from his hand. Smell it. Study it carefully. Then hand it back. "Yes." He relaxes immediately. "Excellent." I lean against the window again. Outside, servants are already whispering to each other. The rumors have started. Shinrue watches them with clear amusement. "You know," he says thoughtfully, "being poisoned was unpleasant." That's an understatement. But the result isn't so bad. I narrow my eyes. "What result?" He looks at me, smiles slightly. "My bodyguard stayed." I sigh. "This man is going to be the death of me. Not because of assassins, but because he enjoys chaos far too much." Chapter 11. The trap closes. Rumors spread faster than fire. By midday, the entire manor knows two things. First, someone tried to poison Shinrue. Second, his bodyguard stayed in his room all night. The whispers follow us everywhere. Servants stop talking when we pass. Guards glance at me with confused expressions. And Shinrue is enjoying every second of it. "You look like you want to kill someone," he says lightly as we walk through the corridor. "I usually do. Preferably not my staff." "No promises." He laughs softly. I, however, am not laughing, because someone inside this manor shot an arrow at him. Someone poisoned his tea. And now that person knows the poison failed, which means they will try again. Soon, very soon, we reach the outer courtyard. Guards stand along the walls. Servants cross the garden carrying baskets. Everything looks normal. Too normal. My instincts tighten immediately. Something is wrong. I stop walking. Shinrue notices. "What?" "Quiet." His expression shifts slightly. I scan the courtyard slowly. Doors. Windows, rooflines, movement patterns. One of the guards near the eastern gate is sweating, even though the weather is cool. His hand grips his spear too tightly. His eyes keep flicking toward Shinrue and avoiding mine. Interesting. Very interesting. I step slightly closer to Shinrue. Stay behind me, he sighs. You say that like something dramatic is about to happen. Before I can answer, the guard moves. Fast. Too fast. The spear drops. A dagger flashes from his sleeve, and he charges straight toward Shinrue. The courtyard erupts in chaos. Assassin! I move before anyone else. My hand snaps forward and grabs the attacker's wrist mid-strike. The blade stops inches from Shinrue's throat. The man struggles violently, but he's weaker than me. Much weaker. I twist his wrist. The dagger clatters to the stone. Guards rush forward. Someone tackles the man to the ground. Within seconds he's pinned and surrounded by weapons. Silence crashes down over the courtyard. Everyone is staring. At the assassin, at Shinrue, and at me. The man on the ground suddenly laughs. Not nervously, not desperately, just quietly. Too late. My stomach tightens. What do you mean? The man grins through blood. You think I was the only one? A cold feeling spreads down my spine. I turn instantly. Shinrue. But he's already swaying slightly. His hand grips the edge of the stone railing beside him. His face is pale. Too pale. Li Wei, he murmurs. Something is wrong. Very wrong. I step toward him immediately. What happened? He exhales slowly. I feel strange. Panic flickers in my chest. Did he cut you? No. Then what? His knees buckle. I catch him before he hits the ground. The courtyard explodes with shouts. My lord! Call the physician! But I'm barely listening, because Shinrue's breathing is shallow now. Too shallow. My mind races. Arrow attack. Poison tea. And now this. The assassin's words echo in my head. You think I was the only one? My eyes snap toward the tea tray sitting on the nearby table. The cup Shinrue drank from earlier. The one I checked. The one I was certain was safe. My chest tightens. Impossible. Shinrue grips my sleeve weakly. Li Wei. I'm here. His voice is barely a whisper now. You look angry. I'm not angry. You always look like that when you're angry. I lower him carefully to the ground. Guards are shouting around us. Servants are running. But the world feels very small suddenly. Just him. Just the sound of his breathing. Stay awake. I tell him. He gives a weak smile. That sounds difficult. Do it anyway. He studies my face. For the first time since I met him, he looks afraid. You won't leave, right? My chest tightens painfully. No. Even if I die? You're not dying. You stabbed me once already. That was a mistake. His fingers tighten weakly around my sleeve. Don't make another one. For a moment my vision blurs. Anger, fear, and something far worse. Because whoever planned this is still inside this manor. Watching, waiting. And if Shinrue dies, I swear I will hunt them down. Every last one. No matter who they are. Chapter 12, The Traitors Unmasked. The physician arrives running. Too slow. Far too slow. Move. I snap as he drops to his knees beside Shinrue. The courtyard is still chaos. Guards shouting. Servants whispering in terrified clusters. The captured assassin laughing quietly under a soldier's boot. But I hear none of it. My entire focus is on Shinrue's breathing. Shallow. Uneven. Wrong. The physician presses trembling fingers to Shinrue's pulse. His face pales immediately. Poison. My jaw tightens. What poison? I'm not certain yet. Then find out. He swallows hard and begins preparing herbs from the pouch at his waist. Meanwhile, the assassin laughs again. I stand slowly. The world around me becomes very quiet, very cold. I walk toward him. The guards holding him shift nervously. Hold him. They tighten their grip. The man looks up at me with bloody teeth and a mocking smile. You're too late. My fist crashes into his face before he can finish. The crack echoes across the courtyard. Blood sprays across the stone. No one moves. No one speaks. He spits red onto the ground. Doesn't matter if you kill me. Maybe not, I say quietly. But pain still works. His smile fades slightly. Good. I crouch down. You said you weren't alone. Silence. I grab his broken wrist and twist. The scream that tears out of him is sharp and ugly. Names. I don't. I twist harder. Bones grind. He howls. Who else? His composure finally breaks. The steward. The courtyard gasps. My eyes lift slowly. Across the garden, the manor steward stands frozen beside the stone steps. 4 years he served Shinrue's household. Quiet, loyal, invisible. Until now, our eyes meet. For half a second, neither of us moves. Then he runs. I'm already moving. The chase explodes through the garden paths. Servants scream and scatter. The steward shoves past them, sprinting toward the rear gate. But he's slow. Panic makes people clumsy. I close the distance easily. 5 steps. 3. 1. I tackle him to the ground. He crashes hard into the gravel. Guards arrive seconds later and pin him down. The steward struggles wildly. You fools, he shouts. You don't understand. I grab his collar. Explain. His face twists with hatred. Shinrue was never supposed to inherit the manor. The courtyard goes silent again. He ruined everything. The steward spits. All our plans, years of planning. His eyes flick sideways, toward the balcony. I follow his gaze, and my blood freezes. 2 more guards, standing above us. Bows drawn. Traitors. The arrows fly. I move instantly. 1 arrow slams into the stone beside me. The other hits my shoulder. Pain explodes through my arm. But I don't let go of the steward. Guards rush the balcony. Steel clashes above us. Within moments, the traitors are dragged down screaming. 3 conspirators. Now 4. All caught. All trembling under the weight of their failure. But I barely notice. Because behind me, I hear someone gasp. I turn. Shinrue is sitting up weakly. The physician supports him. His face is pale, but alive. Alive. Relief hits me so suddenly my knees almost give out. Shinrue notices me watching. Even now, even poisoned, he manages a faint smile. You look terrible. You're supposed to be unconscious. I'm stubborn. That's not a medical condition. He coughs softly. Then his eyes shift to my shoulder. You're bleeding. I glance down. Right. The arrow. I snap the shaft and pull it out without ceremony. Someone nearby winces. Shinrue sighs. You're impossible. Still alive though. He studies me for a long moment. Something quiet and emotional passes through his eyes. You really didn't leave. I said I wouldn't. Around us, the guards drag the captured traitors away. Chains rattle. Shouts echo through the manor. The conspiracy is over. The traitors are caught. But Shinrue keeps looking at me like the world just changed. Li Wei. What? His voice is softer now. More serious than I've ever heard it. Next time someone tries to kill me. Yes. Try not to get stabbed in the process. I snort. No promises. For the first time since this madness began. He laughs. Weak. Tired. But real. And somehow that sound feels like victory. Chapter 13. A World Without Shadows. The manor is quiet tonight. Not the uneasy quiet of secrets and whispers. A different kind. The quiet that comes after the storm has passed. Torches burn steadily along the corridors. Guards patrol without tension. Servants move normally again. The traitors are gone. Exposed. Judged. And the man behind everything was someone Shinrue once trusted. His own brother. The one who believed power should be taken through manipulation, alliances, and blood-stained politics. But in the end, he failed. Because he underestimated 2 things. Shinrue's stubborn kindness. And my refusal to let anyone harm him. The investigation had lasted 3 brutal days. Interrogations. Hidden letters. Secret accounts. Bribed officials. Every thread eventually led to the same name, his brother. When the truth was revealed in the council hall, the entire court had fallen silent. Shinrue stood calmly before them all. No anger, no vengeance, just truth. You tried to rule through fear, he told his brother quietly. But a kingdom built on fear always collapses. His brother laughed at first, until the chains were locked around his wrists. Justice was carried out, not through revenge, through law. And now, the world is changing, because Shinrue refuses to rule the old way. No secret deals, no poisoned cups, no hidden knives behind silk sleeves, just fairness, transparency, and stubborn honesty. Most rulers call that weakness. They are wrong, because I stand beside him, and anyone foolish enough to try harming him again will learn exactly how strong that weakness truly is. I stand on the palace balcony, watching the capital below. Lantern lights stretch across the city like stars fallen to earth. Behind me, the balcony doors slide open. I don't turn. I already know it's him. You're brooding again, Shinrue says. I'm observing. Same thing. I glance back. He's leaning against the doorway, arms folded, wearing that familiar, amused expression. The poison left him weak for a few days. But Shinrue has always recovered quickly. Too quickly. It's irritating. You should be resting, I say. And you should stop hovering. I do not hover. You absolutely hover. I cross the balcony slowly until I'm standing directly in front of him. He tilts his head up slightly to meet my eyes. You're doing that look again. What look? The dangerous one. I lean closer. That's my normal face. He laughs under his breath. And then his expression softens. You've been watching the city every night. Someone has to. The traitors are gone. For now. His smile fades slightly. Then he steps closer. Closer than a ruler should stand to a former bodyguard. But things have changed. Because I'm not his bodyguard anymore. Not officially. The court still hasn't fully recovered from that announcement. Shinrue clears his throat awkwardly. You know, the ministers are still shocked. They'll survive. They expected me to marry someone politically useful. You did. He blinks. How exactly are you politically useful? I remove threats. That's not a diplomatic skill. It's an effective one. He sighs. My husband is terrifying. Correct. And very aggressive. Also correct. And not soft or shy at all. I step even closer. Now there's barely any space between us. That surprises you? Sometimes. I lower my voice. Accept the truth. Shinrue. His eyebrows lift slightly. What truth? I rest my hand against the wall beside him, trapping him between my arms. You're mine. For a moment he just stares at me, still not entirely used to this side of me. The possessive one. The one that appeared the moment I stopped pretending my feelings were only loyalty. His cheeks turn slightly red. You say that like you're conquering territory. In a way I did. I'm the emperor. And I won. He stares for a moment longer, then laughs helplessly. You're impossible. You married me. Sometimes I wonder if that was a mistake. You don't. No, he admits softly. I don't. The city lights glow behind us. Peaceful kingdom. A ruler who refuses corruption. And a former bodyguard who now stands beside him as something far more dangerous. I watch everything carefully. Every official. Every whisper. Every shadow. Because if anything threatens this peace, I will destroy it. Not for the kingdom. Not for power. But for him. After all, I'm no longer just his guard. I'm his husband. And Shinrue belongs to me, even if he still looks slightly shocked every time I remind him. Special chapter mine. The celebration hall is loud tonight. Lanterns glow above the court officials. Music drifts through the air, and servants carry trays of wine through the crowd. Shinrue hates these gatherings. Unfortunately, being the ruler means he cannot escape them. I stand against one of the pillars, watching the room carefully. Old habits. Even though I'm no longer his bodyguard. Across the hall, Shenrue is speaking with a group of ministers. He's smiling politely, nodding, listening, and beside him, a noblewoman laughs softly at something he says. Her hand rests lightly on his sleeve. My jaw tightens. I don't move. I simply watch. The woman leans closer. Too close. Shenrue looks uncomfortable, but he's too polite to step away in front of the court. My patience lasts exactly 3 seconds. Then I start walking. The nobles notice me first. They always do. My reputation tends to make people nervous. The noblewoman turns as I approach. Her smile falters immediately. Good. I stop beside Shenrue. Without saying a word, I slide an arm around his waist and pull him against me. The entire conversation dies instantly. Shenrue stiffens slightly. Li Wei. Yes. Everyone is staring. That sounds like their problem. The noblewoman clears her throat awkwardly and quickly excuses herself. The ministers follow soon after. Within moments, the space around us is empty. Shenrue slowly turns toward me. His cheeks are faintly red. You just scared away half the court. They were standing too close. They were speaking with their ruler. They were touching my husband. He blinks. Jealous? Yes. I don't even hesitate. That makes him laugh softly. You're unbelievable. Correct. He sighs and rubs his forehead. You know diplomacy exists for a reason. And you know I don't care. I lean closer. Close enough that only he can hear me. You're mine. His breath catches slightly. Li Wei. You married me. That doesn't mean you can scare every person who talks to me. Watch me. His eyes narrow. You're enjoying this. Very much. He studies me for a moment, then suddenly grabs my wrist. Before I can react, he pulls me out of the hall, through the corridor, into our private chambers. The doors close behind us. The quiet is immediate. I raise an eyebrow. Emperor, kidnapping now? You started it. He turns toward me. For someone who usually looks calm and gentle, right now his eyes are bright with something dangerous. You embarrassed me in front of the entire court. You were letting that woman touch you. She was talking. She was flirting. And you were glaring like a jealous wolf. I step forward slowly. Because I am. He opens his mouth to respond. But I grab the front of his robes and pull him into a kiss. Not gentle. Not hesitant. Shenrue freezes for half a second in surprise. Then his hands grab my collar and pull me closer. The kiss deepens quickly. Heat, breath. The quiet room suddenly feels much smaller. When we finally separate, Shenrue is breathing a little faster. That was unnecessary. You didn't stop me. He looks away for a moment, then mutters quietly. I wasn't trying to. I tilt his chin up so he looks at me again. Good. His eyes soften slightly. You're ridiculous, you know that? And yet you married me. That might have been the wine. You don't drink wine. True. I brush my fingers against his cheek. You still shocked by me? Sometimes. Get used to it. He sighs, but there's a smile on his lips. Fine. Then he pulls me back into another kiss. This one slower, warmer. The kind that lingers in the quiet room long after the celebration outside fades away. And when he finally rests his forehead against mine, he whispers softly, You really are jealous. Extremely. He smiles. Good. The end. If you like this story, like the video, comment your favorite moments. We are excited to read your comments as we can't understand your opinions. Subscribe BL Without Labels channel. Mention your favorite genre so we can create next your story. See you with next couples.